Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to MADARA Cosmetics Investor Webinar. As always, we will start with company's presentation, which will be followed by questions and answers session. Therefore, you are kindly invited to participate by typing your question in the questions box, which can be found in the settings panel zone. I would now like to turn the conference over to Mr. Uldis Iltners, the member of the management board and shareholder of MADARA Cosmetics, who will proceed with the presentation. Uldi, the floor is all yours.
Good afternoon, dear participants. Thank you for joining the 6th MADARA Cosmetics webinar. Today, we will present the management report on the unaudited financial statements for the first 6 months of this year. As usual, you are welcome to send in your questions, which I will be glad to answer at the end of webinar. So agenda for today, overview of results and main events of first 6 months. Before we start talking about the results of the first half of the year, I would like to briefly remind you of the most important elements of the company. MADARA Cosmetics is still the leading cosmetics producer in Baltics, specialized in producing of unique natural and organic certified skincare and makeup products. Our core business is within European Union with our own brands Madara and Mosa. Innovation is important element for our business. We are among the most innovative organic certified cosmetics producers in Europe, actively working on new natural and organic products in close cooperation with the Latvian University, every year launching new products. This year is no exception, and since the beginning of the year, we have successfully launched several new products. This year, we are planning to launch also some other new products. So they are in the final stages of development and are awaiting for their launch. The company has been listed on the Nasdaq Riga First North since November 2017, offers shareholders benefits program, is retail investors friendly, and prepares ESG reports. So it was in few words, and we are moving on to the first half of the year. Despite the rather unusual situation, we have achieved excellent results. Compared to the first half of last year, the turnover has increased by 47%, EBITDA by 94%, net profits by 123%, and the profit for the first half is higher than the profit of 12 months last year. I'm very happy and proud of our team, which in this turbulent situation was able to adjust its operation strategy, use the company's strengths, and achieve fantastic results. We have also learned a lot in these 6 months, and I believe that this experience will allow us to continue the rapid growth, even if the economic situation continues to be uncertain. In the table, you can see the key ratios and indicators. Compared to last year, we see an improvement in all profit ratios. We have improved the gross profit margin by 1 percentage point, which was positively affected by higher production volumes, as well as the operating profit margin, the increase of which is related to proportionally lower sales and administration costs. So let's move to the next slide. The next 3 slides are about the distribution of sales by regions, categories, and product groups. Here we see the geographical sales breakdown, and there have been no significant changes compared to the previous year. The biggest change is in the share of sales in Latvia, which has increased by 2 percentage points. As usual, the largest turnover was achieved in the European Union, excluding Latvia. We currently sell to most of the European Union countries. In the first half of the year, countries showed different dynamics. And there were countries that showed rapid growth, such as, for example, Germany and France. But there were also countries where growth was lower or the sales even declined. There has also been a slight decline in Finland, which remains the largest export market, although Germany and France are now catching up. The dynamics of growth in different countries, in our opinion, were closely related to the specifics of the distribution model of each particular country and consumer habits. The effect of COVID, the impact of COVID was markedly negative on some channels and on opposite, markedly positive on others. In some countries, distribution is based more on those channels that were negatively affected, and in other countries, distribution is based more on those channels that were positively affected. However, in the third quarter, we see that the situation is actually leveling off and getting more similar as it was before the COVID. Yeah, looking at the sales by categories, we see that the share of contract manufacturing has fallen to 1%, which is 3 percentage points less than a year ago. And the decline is largely due to the COVID situation, and it is currently actually unknown how long it will take for our contract manufacturing customers to recover. Sales of Madara products, on the other hand, have increased by 3 percentage points. Madara is the most important category, and this trend is considered positive. Most sales have grown in line with the overall growth in the first half of this year, and maintain a 10% share of total turnover. So the next slide. This slide shows the distribution of Madara brand sales by product groups. Compared to the first half of the previous year, 11% of total turnover is made up of the makeup line, which was launched on the market last September. And overall, we consider it as quite a good achievement in this short period of time. Due to the entry of the makeup line into the assortment, the other product groups have slightly lost their share, with the exception of the anti-age line, whose share has increased by 4 percentage points and is mainly related to the successful launch of new products. Let's move on the next slide. Here we see a summary of the income statement or profit and loss statement. In short, about the most important, in the first half, company has achieved a turnover of 8.2 million euros, gross profit of 5.1 million euros, operating profit of 1.7 million euros, and net profit of 1.8 million euros. In the first half of the year, the company has generated more than 2 million euros cash flow and maintains high asset liquidity. Overall, the company is in our opinion, the company is in the strongest financial position of all time, and the turnover guidance of 15 million euros for this year remains in force. In the next slides, we will look at the most important events of the first half of this year. First, about the impact of COVID. The situation of COVID has had a significant impact on the cosmetics industry, for sure. On the other hand, this is certainly not the sector most affected, and in general, we believe cosmetics industry continues to operate quite successfully. As I mentioned, there were channels that experienced negative impact and channels that experienced a positive impact. Large stores were most negatively affected, while the situation was mostly positive and profitable for e-commerce channels. Small shops in many European countries also performed surprisingly well, possibly due to the fact that large shops were closed for a while, or consumers preferred to visit smaller shops. In general, the COVID situation created a lot of opportunities, and we managed to capitalize them to some extent. Of course, it is currently difficult to predict the further development of the situation, but we believe that we have a good chance of continuing to work successfully. We have introduced strict rules for our company for the organization of production, warehouse, and office work, with the aim of minimizing the risk of infection, to to a large extent, the office will continue to work remotely. For the production and warehouse, we have divided the employees in smaller groups and separated the group flows so that physical contact does not develop between all employees. Hope that these measures will be enough to minimize the risks and to avoid the infections. So the next, so you will most likely want to know what was the reason for the company's good performance in the first half of the year. In our opinion, there are three main elements. First, focus on e-commerce. Secondly, new retail customers, and third element, successful launch of new products. Now, briefly about each of them. So first about e-commerce. This was an e-commerce victory, if we can say so. Over the last 10 years, e-commerce in the cosmetics industry has developed steadily and gained a growing share. The COVID situation forced even very conservative physical stores to think about e-commerce, and many of them started to develop their own e-commerce stores during the COVID time, and this will certainly have a long-term impact, and the share of e-commerce will increase significantly. As the development of e-commerce has been a priority for Madara Cosmetics for the last 10 years, we were well prepared for this situation, and were able to use our experience and capitalize on previous investments. And actually, not only our own e-commerce channel performed well, also the third party e-commerce channels perform similarly well. And of course, the e-commerce trend is beneficial to us, and we are ready to continue to develop our e-commerce organization and knowledge even more actively. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Probably one of the most unexpected and surprising things that happened during COVID is that we have managed to attract a relatively large number of new customers, especially in Germany and France. These are mostly independent cosmetics and beauty stores, where the owner is involved in store management processes, and also smaller store chains, mostly very well performing stores, which are very good for building the brand awareness. Yeah, actually, we did not expect such high activity from the retail side. It is probably only our assumption, but it's possible that the COVID situation led the stores to reevaluate their assortment and include more than national cosmetics brands in it. Of course, this trend is again beneficial for us, and we are happy with the successful opening of new stores. Okay, let's move to the next one. The last element is the successful launch of new products on the market. As I have said several times in previous webinars, the cosmetics industry is very dynamic, and the development and introduction of new products is essential for development and further growth. In the first half of the year, we have successfully launched a number of new products. The most important of which is which in terms of business are Time Miracle Jelly, which is part of our anti-age line, and self-tan serum for face. Together, these two products generated a turnover of around 3,000 euros in the first 6 months. Together, all new products generated a turnover of nearly 800,000 euros. In response to demand, we also launched hand cleansers and disinfectants in the second quarter. The name of the line is Anti. This segment accounted for 3.3% of total turnover in the first half of the year. Given that the segment currently has a very high level of saturation, we do not plan to focus too much on the further development of this segment. These products will remain in our assortment. However, we do not plan to allocate our resources on further development. So we have reached the last slide of the webinar. A couple of informative things. We have launched a new investors website, and I invite you to take a look at it. Let us know if there are any suggestions or comments from your side. I would also like to inform you that we have published the ESG report for 2019, and this year we are using the Nasdaq unified system. It's for the first time. You can also find a summary of the most important indicators in the ESG section of the investors website. We have gone through the most important things for the first half of this year. I hope you found the webinar useful. In the appendix of the webinar presentation, which will be published later on the Nasdaq system, you will find full information on the financial statements, which you actually already saw in the report. Yeah, so thank you for your participation, and now I will be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Yeah. Let's proceed with the questions received from the audience. There are quite many. Let's start with the questions that were received before the webinar. So the first question, why is not Finland growing? Finland has had flat revenue for 2 years. Do you need to invest more in marketing to get the growth back on track?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, in Finland, Madara is still the #1 natural cosmetics brand. But I agree with you that both last year and this year we have not been able to achieve a significant increase in turnover. There are several reasons for this, and most of them are beyond our direct control. If we talk about the first half of this year, then our current distribution model, which is largely based on cooperation with the department stores Sokos and Stockmann, was quite affected by COVID. Our efforts to redirect operations to other channels, including e-commerce, have not been able to fully offset the decline in large department stores. In the third quarter, we see that the situation with department stores has improved significantly, and we expect growth in Finland this year, despite the 2% decrease in the first half of the year. In general, we believe that Finland has significant potential for further growth, which will largely depend on our ability to go beyond the natural cosmetics segment. Of course, it also should be taken into account that the current Finnish distribution model is quite COVID sensitive, and that if the situation gets worse, this could have a negative effect on sales.
Thank you. Although during the webinar this topic was already touched, maybe you could elaborate more on what percentage of revenues were online in first half, and also what explains Latvia's first half fast growth.
Yeah, so first about the online percentage. It is about 1/3 of the turnover came from our online store, and this does not include third-party online stores. About Latvian market, so Latvia is our home market, which gives some advantages, and the distribution model is very different from Finland. The Latvian distribution model is quite convenient for the COVID situation. Most of the business is in our direct control through our brand stores and online store, and weaker dynamics in physical stores was successfully compensated by online sales. Marta?
What was the growth in first half excluding new distribution partners? What's the trends and future expectations in same-store sales growth?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, in the first half of the year, new customers accounted to 5 percentage points of total growth. It means without new customers, turnover growth would be 42% instead of 47%. Answering the second part of the question about the performance forecast of the existing stores, we are quite optimistic. I believe that our existing sales channels, both physical stores and online channels, are quite stable and have the potential for further healthy development. I will not be able to give any exact numbers. We do not make these calculations. Marta?
Is there near-term prospect for new bigger distribution partners like Whole Foods in UK?
Yeah, thank you. Whole Foods in UK or other similar store chains should certainly be considered as an important element of distribution model, but their importance should not be overestimated. We would rather focus on cooperation with important online players. Their role in future growth could be significantly greater. Online channels are also much more effective. And in general, I would like to say that channels such as Whole Foods are unlikely to become turning points in the company's history. Marta?
Distribution partners in the new growth countries, Germany, France, etc., seem to be mostly smaller beauty and natural goods stores. Will customers find the products from these, or should the products be in bigger retail chains? What's the game plan here?
Yeah, in Germany and France, small shops are actually a good and efficient sales channel. The sales of a small independent beauty shop is usually several times higher than it would be in a certain chain store, because small stores have a personalized attitude. Chain stores are well suited for those brands that have a high brand recognition in particular country. In our case, the recognition that is sufficient for chain stores is only in Latvia and Finland, where we also successfully work in chain stores. Yeah, I would like to emphasize once again that in our opinion, our further development does not depend significantly on the presence in these big physical chain stores. Marta?
Could you also please give update on how is the growth strategy proceeding in the new core markets, for example, Germany, France, UK, etc.? And also there is a question from the audience. Are there any plans to expand into also other new markets?
Yeah, so our strategy remains to focus on European markets. So there is still our share of European markets is very small, and in most of the countries there is really huge growth potential. So the strategy is to work on rising brand awareness in our focus markets, and actively develop both physical sales channels and online channels. Yeah, so we there is no change actually in our strategy. So it remains it remains as previously. Marta?
Thank you. So the next question is again from the audience. So could you further explain, if the organic cosmetics market is growing, do you see increased competition from larger brands such as L'Oreal and others?
Yeah, so also the big houses like L'Oreal is trying to enter natural and organic segment. So they are doing both, adding natural and organic certified lines to their existing brands, and they are also buying or taking over independent natural and organic brands. However, I haven't seen very successful examples where they were able to get significant part of the market. So I think they actually they understand that this is a very important future business segment, but it's somehow I have a feeling that they somehow don't know how to create successful products and approach to this segment. So I somehow believe that at least currently the big houses are not our main competitors, and yeah, so they are not limiting our growth potential. This is my current view. Marta?
Cosmetics is novelty-driven business. What's Madara's new product pipeline currently? Could you also give overview of the product development and marketing organization and its capabilities to come up with new products constantly?
Thank you. Yeah, in my opinion, the company has appropriate organization, capacity, and knowledge to further develop and introduce new products to the market. And of course, we plan to do so. Unfortunately, I will not be able to disclose information about specific products in our new product pipeline. Sorry. Marta?
So the last question from previously received ones is, Coty bought Kylie Cosmetics for $1 billion valuation recently, presumably with the idea that her influencer brand has global appeal. What is Madara's view on building corporate brand versus influencer brand?
Yeah, so this is an very interesting question. Also, the mentioned example. So first we should distinguish between what is an influencer brand and what is a brand that uses influencer marketing. And influencer brands are mostly marketing projects created by globally famous people or influencers. These people were already famous before they created their brands, and I actually do not see the possibility how we could how Madara could become an influencer brand, because no one in this company is globally famous. If we talk about influencer marketing, I fully support it, and we are actively using it. Madara has regular cooperation with several hundreds influencers around the world, and these are people who align with the company values and brand communication. Again, I would also like to mention that influencer marketing is not not a panacea, and in our experience, it is relatively difficult to capitalize on. Influencer marketing should be considered as one of the components of healthy marketing. Yeah, so the example of about the Kylie's Cosmetics, yeah, so it's the example, in my opinion, is rather controversial, because there is an opinion that Kylie's financial data has been corrupted, and the size of the real business is several times smaller. Accordingly, also the brand value. Yeah, so this would be my answer to the question. Hope I answered it. Marta?
Thank you. And now let's proceed with the questions received from the audience now. So the first one is, could you comment on upcoming investments, R&D and CapEx on equipment?
Yeah, so we are investing in of course, both the developing of new products and due to increased production volumes, we need also to improve our production ability. Yeah, definitely. There will be investments into production equipment. Also, this year we decided for more investments into production capexes as initially was planned due to the positive developments. But I would also like to mention that there won't be any kind of if we compare to the previous periods, then there won't be any kind of significant increase into investments. So I would say that it will be probably slightly higher than it was in previous periods, but it will be not kind of let's say it won't be 10 times higher than it was previously. We still can successfully produce the increased amounts in our current production, and we still see possibilities to improve the existing production process by adding additional equipment.
And thank you. Next question is about online sales channels. Is it only online shop or selling on Facebook and Instagram and other platforms? Are these considered in the future?
Yeah, so we are using we are selling the products only on online shop. However, we use Facebook and Instagram as marketing tools. So actually quite actively. And so yeah, it is. There is no. Yeah, it's also for the future. It might remain the same. So the sales are through our online shop, and Facebook and Instagram is used as marketing channels. Marta?
The next question regarding sales forecast. What is your sales forecast for next years and in, for example, 2025?
Thank you. Yeah, so 2025 is actually quite far, and we are now working on the plan for the next 3 years, and we will publish the forecast in the end of this year. So currently we are not able to give you any forecasts, so the update will come later this year.
Thank you. Is current profitability level sustainable and could be expected in the future?
Yeah, so it's the first half of this year. Of course, it has been fantastic in terms of profitability, and I somehow think that we will be able to achieve also similar profitability rates in the future. However, it might differ from period to period. In some periods, we will need to make larger developments of our organization, so it might increase our costs, and then yeah, it might differ to period to period. However, I think I believe that this rate is something that we would be able to reach also in the future. Marta?
Can you please describe production capacity in relation to 15 million euros year sales target? At what production capacity level would sales of 15 million be reached? Can you estimate sales potential with existing production line capacity?
Yeah, the production capacity actually it depends from the organization and production equipment. When we launched our existing production in 2016, so our estimate was that at that time, with the organization we had at that time, that the maximum capacity is 15 million euros. Now, since 2016, we every year we have added new production equipment and improved our production process, as well as we have improved our organization. So at this moment, so our opinion is that the current production capacity is something around 25 million euros. But probably it can be extended even more if we improve our technical equipment and organization. So yeah, I would rather say that it's actually the capacity it depends from the organization we have. And the question, what is the current usage of the capacity? I would say it's rather high, but as I mentioned, so with the improvements in technical processes and organization, we can increase the capacity. So as investors, you shouldn't be worried that we will not be able to produce products. Yeah. So this is hope I answered your question.
Thank you. So the next question is regarding specific product line. Taking into account success of anti-aging line, why do not you position your more expensive products line for 40 plus persons according to your public material? 40 plus women could be bigger clients for premium products.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for your suggestion. It is very good one, and actually also very logical. If we look, yeah, historically the Madara brand was positioned for younger people. We see that our on the other hand, we see that our anti-age line is performing very well. And I can tell that we are thinking about the audience 40 plus, and even about audience 60 plus. However, we at the moment we haven't decided on the plan when and how we will approach this audience. But definitely we are thinking about it, and in near future there might be also offer for this particular audience. Marta?
What has been monthly sales growth trend from January to June? And if you can, please comment also on July-August developments. I want to understand if the majority of the growth came in March, April during the lockdown, or whether the growth trend is sustained or accelerating as the economy is slowly opening back up.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I will not be able to give you this growth rate month by month. I don't have these numbers. If we talk about second quarter, then actually it was the sales were quite equal, but it should be also mentioned that in cosmetics industry there is seasonality, and usually spring is high season, and then again in summer summer there's low season, and then in autumn is again improving. This year summer was very active. Actually, yeah, I would say probably even most active summer ever, and the third quarter started very actively. So today I will not give you any numbers, but so we are the growth trend is the growth trend is very positive. Marta?
One of the participants is also congratulating on strong sales growth and asks, could you provide more details on the sale ratio and growth for each of the sales channels? For example, large store, small store, and e-commerce.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, around 1/3 came from our own online store, and this is not including the third-party online stores. The division between smaller and larger shops, unfortunately I won't have won't be able to give you these numbers. So it also from country to it differs from country to country, and as I mentioned, for example, in Finland, we are more in our distribution is based more on bigger department stores. In opposite, for example, in Germany, these are more independent beauty shops. Yeah, I don't know if I have answered the question, but so I'm sorry, I'm not able to give you any exact numbers.
We have two last questions. How large do you think is the market opportunity in your existing markets? 100 million sales, for example. How far are you looking out to make business decisions?
So there were two questions, right? So the first one was about the potential.
Yes,
so the
first one.
yeah the potential the potential is huge, and even I think even 100 million euros turnover is not the limit for our brand in the existing markets. I mean, mainly European markets. The second part of the question was how far we are planning. I would say that with the current growth rate, it's rather dynamic, and I don't think it will make sense to make any 5 or 10 years plans, because there will be already after a quarter there are so many changes that we need to make adoptions in our operations. So I don't think it will make sense to make to prepare long-term plans. Now, as I mentioned, we are working on 3 years plan, or probably the more precise name for it would be perspective, because with this current growth rate, it's rather difficult to make exact 3 years plans, and we would also like to leave this this kind of opportunity and kind of not limiting us by plans. Let's say saying that we can grow in next 3 years, I don't know, 20-30% yearly. Probably we can grow 50 or 70% yearly. So, but it's of course to make a plan where we can grow 50 or 70% yearly. It's already rather challenging. So it's of course it's very high growth rate, and we shouldn't be also too optimistic. So I would say that at this current development stage of the company, it even 1 year plan is already rather challenging, and it's more challenging if we talk about 3 or 5 or 10 years plan. I even don't see a sense to do that. Hope I answered. Yeah.
The last question that we have currently received is, if you could only look at 3 key performance indicators, what would they be and why?
Yeah. The key performance indicators. It's yeah. It differs from of course from department to department, and actually we do not have performance indicator for the company. So of course one of the indicators is the sales growth, then of course also the profitability ratios, There is also brand recognition in our focus markets. So yeah, so these probably are these three most important performance indicators. Yeah, so I hope I answered. Marta? Marta, do we have other questions?
Yes, thank you. All questions are answered now. Recording of the webinar will be available in the Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel and in company's announcements. Uldi, thank you for the presentation and for answers given. Participants, thank you for interesting questions and for joining. Until next time.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us today, and for so many interesting questions. Thank you.